You don't want to end conversations as awkwardly as in this example.
Genial. Entonces, ¿está todo listo para la presentación?
Sí, todo listo.
Bien. ¿Algo más?
No.
Vale.
Vale.
Hasta luego, entonces.
Sí, adiós. I will show you 25 amazing ways and chunks to steer clear from that awkwardness and end conversations with a native speaker pleasantly. I'm Spring Spanish teacher Maura, and here's your first option to end a conversation in Spanish. So, this needs no introduction, right? At the same time, you might be thinking, wasn't I trying to learn Spanish? Like, what's this English word doing here? Well, saying bye in Spanish is almost entirely accepted basically everywhere in Latin America. So feel free to rely on your English with this one. Este es el tipo de cosa que solo notarás una vez empieces a hablar con nativos. O que puedes practicar con nosotros convirtiéndote en miembro de nuestro Inner Circle. Como miembro podrás chatear con tutores, otros alumnos y asistir a las salas de chat que organizamos regularmente. Precisamente para que puedas notar cosas como que si puedes decir bye sin ningún problema para despedirte. Yo lo hago todo el tiempo con mi familia. Ok. Buenísimo. Bye, mami. She said bye, mi amor. Número 2. Chao is another one that came from another language. If you know which one, let me know in the comments. Nosotros, los que hablamos español, la hemos usado tanto y por tanto tiempo que ahora es parte oficial de nuestro idioma, con su propia ortografía y todo. It has many unofficial variations as chao or chaito, but they all mean the same as adios. The only difference might be that adios has a better chance at being more formal and sounding a little bit more serious. Personally, I love using adios when I want to be sarcastic or show disdain, and chao and any of its variations when I want to be sweeter. For example, vale, lo que tú digas. Adiós. Or, qué bueno verte, no te pierdas. Chaito. Chunk alert. No te pierdas is an ideal example of what a chunk in Spanish is all about. Useful, practical, and non-translatable. Of course, you can find good equivalencies in your language. For example, even though the literal translation to no te pierdas would be don't get lost, and that's not what it means, you do have don't be a stranger in English, and that is exactly what we mean with no te pierdas. Bottom line, no traduzcas chunks. Eso sí, puedes aprenderlos con nosotros accediendo al enlace en la descripción para obtener nuestro free Essential Spanish Chunking Kit. It's right there, and it's for you. Go get it. Número 3. These two are only used at night for obvious reasons. Unlike what you'd say during the day, like buenos días or buenas tardes, this one does work as a way to say goodbye. These are some of the situations in which you could use them. Al teléfono antes de colgar. Cuando te vas a la cama, a la gente que vive contigo. Cuando estás fuera, justo antes de irte. The idea is that this is the final goodbye for the day and everyone is going home or to bed. Also, it doesn't always have to be nighttime and you can use them both together. My friends and I said buenas noches descansen to each other the other day when saying goodbye after a party. Estábamos en la estación de metro y eran las 6 de la mañana, pero todos nos íbamos a casa directo a la cama. Eso es lo importante. Watch until the end to learn the best chunks to signal that the conversation is coming to an end. You need to learn the bridge that leads you to saying chao. Número 4. With hasta, there are several alternatives that can make for very practical options you can use with almost anyone in almost any context, whether formal or informal. These are the options we'll go through. Hasta pronto, hasta luego, hasta mañana. The only difference has got to do with time. If you say hasta pronto, it might mean that you expect to see the other person, well, soon. No es tan rígido, así que no te preocupes por ser demasiado preciso o precisa sobre esto. Just make sure it's someone you could actually see again and not a stranger on the streets, for instance. Hasta luego is broader, since you could use it whether you expect to see the other person again or not at all. Hasta mañana is the narrowest of the three in terms of usage, since you do need to be seeing the other person the next day. So, at a store or to a total stranger, hasta luego. Someone at work or in the same class as you, hasta mañana. A friend, a neighbor, or a place you intend to go back to, hasta pronto. Recuerda que hasta luego y hasta pronto no son tan rígidos. Lo importante es que no uses hasta mañana con alguien a quien no vayas a ver mañana. Número 5. This is the most formal so far. You could use this in an email, over the phone, or face-to-face. Typically, you would need a context in which makes sense to say gracias. Después de eso, puedes decir que tengas un buen día o que estés bien. No ambos. I tend to end emails like this, and then I sign with my name.
Pero no creas que eso significa que es una despedida escrita necesariamente. Puedes decirlo verbalmente con total naturalidad.
To make it even more formal, make sure to use the right conjugation of the verbs tengas y estés. For more about that, you can check Paulísima's tú versus usted video. Número 6. On the contrary, this is definitely the most informal. Actually, what this requires is a relationship which is close and very friendly, since you could even use this with a romantic partner. Así que, cualquier cosa aparte de eso, tendría que ser una amistad o un familiar. You can also end YouTube videos like this, meaning I could totally say this to you guys. Like this. Besos. But we're not done yet. Número 7. From here on, you could use most of these right before the ones we've seen so far to signal that the conversation has come to a necessary end. Though the last option is by far the crème de la crème of signals. With this though, the three alternatives, nos vemos, hablamos, estamos en contacto, are so good at saying adiós that you could even use them for that. De otro modo, funcionan bien para enviar señales. Meaning, you could have a conversation ending to look like this. Vale, hablamos. And just end there. Or it could be more like this. Vale, estamos en contacto. Bye. Número 8. Usually, this is mostly to be used over the phone or by text. It's not that you can't use it face-to-face, but it's less common that it'll make sense to do so. Probably some of the other alternatives would work better anyways. Of course, you should mean it. O sea, no digas que vas a escribir o llamar luego si no planeas hacerlo. Some people do, of course, but it's just bad manners. Just as the ones above, you could end the conversation with this or add a little something extra afterwards. Like, no puedo hablar ahora. Te llamo luego. Or, no puedo hablar ahora. Te escribo luego. Besos. Número 9. The most typical situation for qué bueno verte would be the same as in English. You run into someone in the street. Adding cuídate will help you to fully end the conversation while still leaving room to use any of the first alternatives that actually mean ciao. At the same time, it'll make you sound super natural since these two chunks tend to go together in native speech. You can use them both together or space them out a step. Qué bueno verte. Igual a ti. Cuídate. Tú también. Número 10. Now, this is a good one if you're okay with being more direct. You could use it virtually with anyone and in any circumstance, as long as you add the correct excuse after por qué. Also, add one of the first options after, like hasta luego, for example. La excusa puede ser real o completamente inventada. Se trata de la amabilidad que representa el que te la inventes en primer lugar. Just make sure that it holds. Over the phone, it's easier, but be more careful if you're excusing yourself face to face, so that this doesn't happen to you.
Me tengo que ir porque ya me vinieron a buscar. Seguro. Cuídate. Que estés bien. Maura, ¿no te ibas? Ah, sí, es que...
Número 11. This is what I promised you before. These 4 little chunks are my go-to every time I need to signal that the conversation needs to end. Unlike the other ones, these do not end conversations whatsoever and they do need you to say something afterwards. Son pequeñitas, sutiles y súper útiles. Puedes usar combinaciones de ellas o todas por separado si la persona no es capaz de captar la indirecta a la primera. Sí. En fin. Es así. Bueno, nada. Vale, adiós. Now, quick review. We have mainly 8 which definitely end conversations. Bye, chao o adiós. Buenas noches, descansa. Hasta pronto, hasta luego, hasta mañana. Your most formal one. Gracias y que tengas un buen día o que estés bien. Your most informal one. Besos. And then the ones you can use right before the conversation ends. Nos vemos, hablamos, estamos en contacto. Te llamo o te escribo luego. Qué bueno verte, cuídate. Me tengo que ir o te dejo porque. The best ones to signal which definitely need a goodbye afterwards. Bueno, nada, en fin, es así. Now, you should also know how to have a great conversation in the first place. We have 10 amazing questions that will lead to your best conversations in Spanish. Let's check them out together. Click the image on the screen to discover these questions right now.